Welcome back to another Geeking Out session. We are meeting with Andrew Altman today. Andrew Altman is a team leader, team owner of the Altman Group, a real estate group down in Arizona. But he's also well known for being the COO of Open to Close, or OTC, primarily a transaction management software. But here's the thing is, Andrew Altman and I'm pretty sure if he was willing to do this with me, we could do a Geeking Out session once a week for the next year, and we would never run out of things to talk about. The next thing is I loved what he had posted right after we did this Geeking Out session. He said, he basically let everybody know that we had recorded it, and he said, spoiler alert, Breckheimer and I cannot stay on topic. So the idea was to talk about automation. We covered everything from automations to if this, then that mindsets. We talked about mapping your systems out. We talked about integrations. We talked about leverage, community, and reaching out to your community and getting that support and having other people actually look at the systems that you're building out and give you feedback. We talked about custom fields, more and more and more. So what you're going to see here is just Andrew Altman and I just being us. We absolutely, we can't stay on topic, and we love covering all of these areas, but one leads to the other pretty organically in this conversation. And I'm just grateful to have Andrew in my life. I'm grateful for his wisdom and his knowledge with all things related to automation and integration. So anyways, hope you enjoy the conversation. Don't forget that at cultivatewins.com in the blog section, we have created a blog for this particular Geeking Out session that actually has an outline with timestamps for every single topic that we hit. So if that's helpful to you, just go to the blog. And then if you're at the blog, there's also a shortcut to the YouTube link, and there are timestamps there as well. All right, Andrew, bring it. Andrew, welcome. I love the opportunity for us to hang out again. You know that. So, and I think you and I, just my personal opinion, I think we could probably do one of these a week.
Yes.
We probably wouldn't run out of things to talk about. I think we think a lot alike. I think we have a lot of mutual appreciations for both certain people, humans, certain things in this business, mindsets in this business. So to talk to you specifically around automations means a lot to me, because as I shared with you, this is a topic I generally speaking want nothing to do with in regards to a video, because I don't trust 90% of our industry to talk about this topic or to take a video like this and translate it properly, because every piece of knowledge that we share, knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is power. And I'm afraid how something that we're going to say is going to get translated and applied, but you're someone that has just a background in automation that I respect so much. I thought if I could talk to anybody on this specific topic, I'm really honored that you're willing to have this conversation with me based on my fears. So I appreciate that, my friend. I absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And, I'm hoping we can disagree on something, because we have a lot of the same mindsets, and that's going to make it really boring for people. So hopefully we can have some constructive criticism or get in some arguments or something.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So here's where I kind of wanted to start. And I told you I was going to ask you this, and I don't know the answer, quite frankly. Is I want to hear a little bit. I think there's going to be people that do know you that watch this video, and there's going to be some that you're new to them. But those that know you play automation at a very high level. And for some people, that's going to be a little intimidating.
For sure.
You're going to talk in a realm that you have years and years of experience. So you're talking from your current place. What I want to hear is the origination story. Where did automation, kind of what was your first flavor, your first taste of automation? Because there's going to be people that this is going to be one of their first taste of automation. Is this something I want to consider? Is this more than I can swallow right now? What was your first origination story? How did you get into automation?
Yeah. So I was in civil engineering. I worked over a civil engineering firm before this.
Okay.
And I just started playing around with ways to make our department more efficient. That was the main thing. And so a lot of it stemmed from Excel, really learning Excel, learning all the functions, trying to, when one of the engineers gave me a spreadsheet and said, can you do X, Y, or Z for this floodplain? Thinking of ways where I could do it in an hour so I could get the heck out of there. And meanwhile, they thought it was going to take me all day, right? So that was kind of the origination. Then on the personal side, it was A program called IFTTT. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but they can look it up. I used to say, if it's going to rain tomorrow, I want you to text me. If it's going to, or send me a list of all my Google Calendar events back before this was an easy thing to do. And so a lot of
breakdown, what do those initials even mean?
If this, then that.
Yes.
So if this happens, what do you want to happen on the back end? And so we'll talk about that a lot probably later as far as our program goes, and how if X happens, I want Y, Z, A, B, and C to happen, not just Z. I want a whole list of things to happen from me just clicking one button, and that's where eventually we'll get to. But we're gonna ease into that.
Okay, one part of your origination story that I find really just exciting and interesting for me is I think people think of automations as this almost super advanced thing.
Yeah.
Come on, spreadsheets.
Right.
First of all, spreadsheets are just sexy. I just love spreadsheets. Okay.
They are great.
Okay. I like them. That's my gig. But the deal is that literally just a spreadsheet, the average person who's already using a spreadsheet, you can go ahead and you can actually automate formulas. You can automate some notification. There are things that you can do probably with tools that you're already playing with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in spreadsheets, I mean, I have a buddy, we're both sick in the head a little bit, but he's down in Tucson, and like we would be buying a TV at the same time, and we would have a shared spreadsheet going back and forth on what TV is the most expensive, but which one do you get the most value from, cars, things like that. So it got to be kind of an obsession with this stuff, but it saved us so much time to share the workload. And also, if you go on, I'm not a huge proponent of spending hours and hours on social media, but on TikTok right now, you can go on and there's a girl on there that has a really cool video on spreadsheets, and you can like highlight things and just hit a couple buttons and it'll calculate the whole spreadsheet for it's amazing.
I've watched a bunch of those and I love them.
Yeah,
I love them. My
wife
is like, hole. What are you getting so excited about? And I'm like, you gotta see what I just saw.
It's a black hole of time though, so be careful. So yeah, but to touch on that a little bit more, I mean, even now I have an automation on my iPhone that if it hits 50% battery level, it says feed me. I programmed it to say feed me so that I know to go ahead and plug it in before it gets too low, because I have an old phone and it depletes pretty quick. And so just these little things, all the lights in my house, I can walk into a room and say, turn on the lights, they'll turn on. Just little things to save me minutes during the day, hours during the week, weeks during the year. Those are the things that get me excited. How do I save, even when we get down to transactions, I mean, it's even, how do I save 30 seconds on this transaction? Because if you project that over 10,000 transactions, you'll see why it's so important to save those seconds.
You're such a geek.
I know.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, okay. The origination story was something as simple as just spreadsheets. And then if this, then that.
Yep.
I mean, literally just those two simple things should help someone understand this is a very, very, very low bar of entry. This isn't a scary thing. These are things that you can do on simple things, and it doesn't have to be something that you apply to every aspect of your business.
Filters in Gmail. Filters in Gmail is a great one to start with. If you still get the same email all the time and you're always filing it to the same place, hit a filter, put it in there automatically. Say, forward it to this person automatically. Like there's so many things that I'll automatically forward to my wife for bookkeeping records or whatever. This comes in, forward here, file here. I never even see the email and everything gets done.
Okay, so you had said it'd be fun if we could disagree on something. So you're already talking about spreadsheets. You're already talking about this, then that. Now you're talking about Gmail. I'm kind of falling in love with you. I'm having a little bromance right now. They're all areas that I just absolutely adore. So you know that. But
there's so many things though to save you time during your day. You just and they're very easy if you learn them. Like go look up iPhone shortcuts. It's already on your phone, shortcuts. Look in there. There's a million things you can do to make your life easier during the day and keep you more organized.
Yeah. So what you just said, though, is I want to translate one thing for a lot of people that are listening here is you just said, go, whether it's Google lookup or whatever it is, your iPhone or anything else like that. I think part of this is just a mindset thing. This has nothing to do about real estate. The mindset is creating your own culture of interest for automation. Because you're not talking about just being in a real estate transaction. You're not just talking about automations for your business. You're just talking about automations to just help your life in general. And that's more creating your own personal culture, that is a topic that you find of interest at this point. And that's part of what is kind of fun about talking to you, because I think there are definitely going to be people that would listen to this, and the first time that they've ever thought about automations, they haven't thought about this in any way, shape, or form other than, I don't know, I don't get it. How are people automating their business? How are they automating their transaction? How are they automating their marketing? How are they, okay, you're talking about some of the smallest things, whether it's email that comes in and filtering it to the right person. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a spam call here, but we're going to leave that alone. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that to people, is this goes outside of real estate. Now, based on this is, I want to be real clear early on in this video as well, is that both you and I, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think our longest history in this business, I got in this business back in 97, and my longest history would be, if I added up being an agent, being a broker, it's more on the agent side. And I think a number of people at this point know me for systems and know me for the admin side and stuff like that. But my background has a lot to do with the agent and the broker side of things and the leadership side of things. And I think you were an agent for how many years?
So we did investing, me and my wife. So we did investing. Then I became an agent. Real estate was always kind of a background passion that I knew I had, but it was just kind of feeling it out a little bit. And so when they offered me ownership in the civil engineering firm that I was at, I went home and told my wife, and I was very excited. And I got, they offered me ownership. This is going to be incredible. And she said, why would you do that to the rest of your life? You hate it. And I had to think, and I said, oh my gosh, you're right. You're right. So I quit right at that point. They were very confused, but, and we had already explored real estate a little bit. So we had a little bit of comfort there, but you really have to kind of go with your passion there. And it really helped me get into something that I love to do versus something that I just had to do every day. So
now, part of that, though, I want to make sure that, because there's going to be some people on this, just as I said, some people know me more on the agent broker side. Some people know me more on the systems and admin side. For you, I do think you have some audience that knows you more of the open to close guy. And there's a group of people out there that know you more as you're the owner of a real estate team and you have a number of agents. Okay. So talk to us about that agency part. Is, are you still an active agent, or you just basically, you are running the team at this point, and how many agents do you have? Just put things in perspective for people.
I wouldn't say I'm running the team. My name's still on the team. My wife really runs the team.
Good.
And honestly, I'll tell you a little bit how we got into the passion of transaction management, along that direction. But we were investors, and we got our license, and we started a team, and we had a really fast start. And I come from a place of just, we did 43 deals the first year. We did 63 deals the second year. I was going at all ends, right? I had 2 sets of clothes by the laundry room where I could just go and change and run out the door and go. My broker kept asking me, like, where are you getting the success from? I answer my phone and I get to the house as fast as possible to show them. That was all I knew at the time. I didn't know anything, right? Just a little bit of hustle got us started in a really good direction. And then that started to branch out. I started to look at, some of the really smart people in the industry, and they started talking about, well, you can do this a little bit more automated. You can do this a little bit more automated. But really the passion for transaction management came in when I'm not a big leads guy. Like, I don't like 1,000 leads coming in. I get it. Like, if you were going to want to run a big team, you have to. It's a necessary evil and it's very profitable if you do it correctly and follow up correctly. But we got a lot of referrals, and it was keeping our lifestyle really. It was a very nice lifestyle that we were getting just from referrals and taking care of people and being there for them and answering our phone at 8 o'clock to give them life advice when they were getting scared about the transaction and things like that. Well, that translated into transaction management. People were like, hey, I'm going to refer you because I've never had a transaction go this smooth. And so that was a credit to my wife. She had really good systems in that aspect. And so then we started looking at, how do we automate a little bit of this? When our first time we ever had 20 transactions in 1 month, we weren't ready for it. Let's put it that way. And so that's when the automation came in, and we said, how do we automate some of these processes? So we started looking at Salesforce and Infusionsoft / Confusionsoft, and some of those softwares that are very hard to set up if you don't have a base of automation knowledge, but can do wonderful things if you spend the time on them. And so that's kind of where we started to kind of pull back and say, how do we get rid of these mundane tasks? And so we have kind of interesting, but we have never been a task-based. Everybody's task-based, really. And 95% of people are task-based in this industry. We have never used tasks to the degree that other people use. We've always looked into, if this happens, what do we want to happen and how do we automate that?
Yeah.
So I did start from a little bit different place than most people in that aspect.
So that's a mindset change. And a lot of people who have worked with me or whatever, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit, is I'm very much, I'm batching based, is I don't do anything per address, everything's batching, and if this, then that. Every system has a backup system. I assume, we'd like this task to happen, but the fact is things don't happen. So what happens when that doesn't happen? And it's a lot of that, if this, then that, if this, then that, and those types of things. So you and I, our mindset, we've ended up at a very similar place. You and I have talked
different approaches.
Yeah, but we came from totally different worlds with that. So let's do this, and for those that are watching and in the introduction, you will have heard this as well. We are going to timestamp this. So if there's a specific topic that you want to hit, just go down again to the description of this video and we will timestamp each one of the questions and topics here. So the one thing I do want to kind of now dive into a little bit, as you build out automations, you and I have definitely talked about the fact where you and I are on the same page that I'm afraid to talk about automations to people because I think they want automations.
Yeah.
And all I care about is what's your first baby step. All I care about are the smallest steps. And I always say constantly, mini wins are huge, mini wins are huge, mini wins are huge, mini wins are huge. And I heard you earlier today also mention is, David, what I really want to bring up in this is what are the baby steps type of thing? What are the smallest things that they could do? So where would you help us to start, or where would you suggest someone, and this could be an agent, this could be a TC, this could be anything. Where do you want to start that conversation?
So I apologize for getting on my soapbox right now, but that's the way it's going to go for a second.
Yeah, welcome to my life. I live on a soapbox, baby.
A lot of people want to start at step 10 because it's fun, right? You see these new features and it's like, oh, conditional logic, smart blocks, all these fun things to do. If you don't have a system in place, you might as well just toss in the towel right away. You have to have your system laid out. Even, my favorite Miro board, I love Miro boards, Lucid board, whatever you guys use. I would mind map the whole transaction and how you want it to flow first. And then make sure that if this doesn't happen, where do I go from here? If yes, go here. If no, go here. Map this out on paper, even on 100%. Notebook paper is fine. But 100%. If you don't have the end in mind, you're going to fail at automation. You're going to fail at these other things. I mean, maybe 5%, really just smarter people than me can probably figure it out. But honestly, if you don't have that mind map from the beginning, you don't have your systems locked in a spreadsheet and on paper, it's going to be a very, very hard transition to get to the end goal.
Okay, so a couple key phrases, guys, here, and you guys have heard these over and over and over again, and I didn't prompt him to say any of this, but I love it, so let's just go through those. Number one, your system is not your tool, and your tool is not your system. Those are not the same thing. He's talking about mapping out your system. Another thing that he just said that we preach till we're blue in the face, draw it out. Yes. Now, I mean, at a bare minimum, draw it out physically. Draw it out. If that takes you pen and paper, great. Now, some of you are geeks at the highest level, and you've got wonderful programs that will help you do that. And I get sent these drawings, and I love them. I geek out with you. But the fact is, literally this simple, but it needs to be drawn and mapped out. And I can tell you that you started with that.
Yeah, I can tell you that the drawing on the paper, that's the way I started until I found, I think it was, I can't remember what my original program was, but it was very scaled down compared to what you can do today. But when I did, you can get those for free, like Miro board free, I think for like a couple boards, and you can make a bunch of boards on one big board. I would say if you have the ability to do that, do it, because paper, I went through probably 10 notebooks of paper before I got to the end goal. It's much easier just to move things around on a computer screen than it is to pull your paper out, crumple it up, throw it away, and start over again. So if you do have that ability, use it. But honestly, if you're not going to do it, use what you're going to use. Like 100%. Use what you're actually going to do.
Okay, I want to add one more step on to what you just said is not only, and I 100% agree, is I really could care less what you use, pen, paper, whatever tool you're going to actually use. But be humble and actually show what you've drawn out. I don't care if it's on paper. I don't care if it's on a cool looking tool. Show it to someone because you're too darn close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Show it to someone that you trust that is willing to look at it and ask you questions. Why did you have this go here? Why do you have this as a flow? Have someone that it could be a coach, great, fantastic. But I'll just tell you right now, there are people within your industry that you know that the two of you could both be doing this and show each other and question each other's how you're drawing out your system. I'm just saying, have another set of eyes, if not a couple set of eyes, actually ask you why your process looks the way that it does.
And let me add one more thing.
Please.
Something I learned halfway through that would have saved me a whole lot of time at the beginning.
Okay.
Is put why you're thinking what you're thinking about 100%. That. They have notes next to the bubbles that you can type in a note, because a lot of times I would go back a week later, a month later, and I'd be like, what was I thinking here? Like, I don't remember why I wanted to do it this way and not this other way that I had thought of in the last 2 days. So having those notes is imperative to going back and imagining where you were at that time.
I would say two things to that. Number one, there's another reason why to write those whys. I think there's also value in, after you've done this, step away from it for a while.
You definitely.
Come back to it in a couple days, a couple of weeks. If you didn't write that why down, you're just as confused as anybody else who's looking at it for the first time. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
There is value to walk away from it. Second thing is, and I know you meant the why for a specific thing. I do want to mention, though, that the why could actually go another direction as well. Not just why did you have it flow that, but you could do a second set of whys. And I'm going to change the word now and say, the reason why you're doing that is because what is the standard that your system is being designed to achieve? What is the standard here that we're trying to achieve? Okay, that might be your why. So now we're thinking of the why more in the Simon Sinek way and everything else like that. So think of why as to why did I have the flow that go? But the other thing is just why? What is the standard that a system is built for one reason, and that is to achieve a standard that you have set.
Yeah.
A system without standards. Well, I'll get off that soapbox. That's a whole other conversation. So
I have a really great story from the other day that is kind of sidetracking, but I think it's important. So the whole reason we started Open to Close, when I met Shane, we just kind of clicked on all our thinking about where we wanted this industry to go. And if you guys could see our vault of things that we're developing, I mean, it's next level stuff that's going to change the industry, in my opinion. But the whole goal was we would talk to these TCs. I remember one of them told us she was losing her hair. She was so stressed out.
Yeah.
I remember another one told me that every vacation she's ever been on, she carries her laptop with her wherever they go.
Yep.
We were like, this has to stop. Like, there's enough technology in this world that this has to stop. So the whole goal was freedom of time for yourself, because you do need to take time for yourself, freedom of time to spend with your loved ones, whether that's family or friends or whoever. And then just, take a vacation without work. That's nice. That's a nice thing to do if you've never done it. And then I would say the other thing, the story from the other day was I was talking to someone that's been on the program for about a year now, and it's really the light bulb moment happened. I love that light bulb moment. I'm talking to people and I'm describing things and you can tell they're not getting it. And then all of a sudden that one thing goes off and they're like, 2 weeks later, they have a system that looks incredible.
Yep.
But the lady told me that because she just started with triggers, conditional based triggers, which we might get into later, just from creating 8 to 10 of those, she was able to cut out a couple hours of her week. So yesterday or the day before, she spent 2 hours playing Minecraft with her kid during the day.
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that what it's about?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yesterday, anybody can go check out my Facebook. Is yesterday, we have purposely set up our business. I'm in charge of my life. And my son is 24, happens to be in the state. And what he asked me earlier in the day, he goes, any chance you can just get away and let's go to the falls? I was able to make that choice.
Yep.
Without dropping the ball on anything, because I have been purposeful about setting up my systems that allows me to live the life that I want to live. Is your system allowing you? Now, I'm going to say this, and I mean this with all of my heart. I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but I don't really care if it just allows you to live the life that you want to live. Is it allowing you and your team to live the life that they want to live? This isn't just about us. This isn't just about you. This is about anybody that you have an impact on their life. And if they're on your team, you have an impact on their life.
Yeah. And when you're a single agent or a single TC, this work affects you so much, right?
Yep.
And I've been down that road in my life where, I've had some rough patches because of how much time I've spent on the business and not family.
Yep.
And so the key is get that time. Time is freedom, right? Freedom of time is like the best thing you could ever have. And like David's saying, get the system set up so that you can take, if you need to take 2 hours to rush to the hospital or hang out with your son or whatever, you can take 2 for a day, 2 days, whatever that is for you.
Absolutely. So let's dive in a little bit. Where do you want to go from here? Because when we talked about the mindset around automation, I think a lot of this kind of hits on the mindset and I think we could probably just do 3 hours just on mindset, but which is hard for me not to want to do and just keep going on. But I want to bring additional value to this as well. But the mindset about where to start. So we did kind of dive into that, which for both of us, we both agree, draw your system out. You don't want to build a tool first and then figure out what does that make my system look like. No, you have to have a system drawn out. Now, some of us are qualified to do that on our own. Some of us, it'd be good to partner with someone that you believe in and that you trust will help look at your systems and ask you appropriate questions so that you can truly build out a system that a tool will help you to implement. So we both talked about the drawing out and the importance of drawing out this system. What are some specific areas to automate if they're going to be getting started? Now, that could be per role. That could be for agents, ops managers, admin, marketing. And now we're not talking about automation of my lights turn on when I walk in the room. We're talking real estate specific here.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, let me back up. I'll get David excited here. One of the things I would add on to that last statement is you have to time block your life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Love
seriously,
language.
if you're going to work on this,
Yep.
you have to have dedicated, uninterrupted time. It's too confusing to have kids, some people might not have this luxury, but get as close as you can to a quiet environment where you can spend, even if it's an hour, but that is blocked out that hour and you're not doing anything else for that hour. So side note, things you can start with, sorry. Initial emails going out. Well, actually, let's take it by position. How about we do that first? So ops manager, your CRM, having a good marketing program, or for your marketing and ops, I'm going to talk about both of those a little bit. Having a good CRM/marketing program, even if they're separate, that you can create sequences in and create SOPs in. So making sure that every procedure in your business is laid out. And then for the marketing side, making sure those sequences are automated so that if this person doesn't call me back in 3 days, they automatically move to this sequence. If they do call me back, now they move to a different sequence. If they do more than X number of transactions, they go into a VIP pipeline. All these things that you can do automated that you don't have to spend a lot of time on. And there's a lot of good programs out there for marketing that you can do this. I'm not going to fanboy on anyone right now, but I'll tell you who I use, just so you know. I use ActiveCampaign for mine. It's very sufficient. There's plenty of options out there. I found that ActiveCampaign is the best value that I've found as far as the price, because they give you 50 users with the price. And so it's not an all-encompassing program, but it does a good job for us. I would say, I use Follow Up Boss. That I love Follow Up Boss. I am a little bit of a fanboy for Follow Up Boss, only because I've left and came back several times because I thought the grass was greener. I like the idea of not having an all-in-one system. I like the idea of being able to bolt on integrations. And if open to close, let's say we're doing a horrible job, you can get rid of open to close and bolt on another transaction management program. If my website's not doing well, I can get rid of that website and bolt on another website, and Follow Up Boss is the hub that connects all those things. So that's why I like Follow Up Boss. It might not work for your business, but that was the decision-making behind that. So go ahead.
I was going to say, let's take one pause because this video really is about automation. But here's the thing is some of the things that you're going to automate, you may have a CRM that has some automation capabilities. You may have a transaction management that has some capabilities. You may, and I can go down the list of all the different things that you might have software for. One thing that we're not going to hit real hard on this video is notice how many times he used the word integration. Okay. The fact is the more research that you do when you are choosing your tools, I'll just tell you right now, any tool that doesn't integrate well with all of my Google world isn't even a choice for me. And I'm constantly looking at reviews, looking at the comments and everything. And when they tell me that it's glitchy with Gmail or glitchy with the calendar, that's non-negotiable to me. So the integration is an important part sometimes to what you're trying to accomplish with your automations as well. So we won't hit real hard on that, but I do want to mention it because it is a topic that needs to be discussed.
On our real estate team, if it doesn't integrate with Follow Up Boss, it's not being used by our team because I want my agents to have one login. I want them to log into one place and be able to do their job. The more you confuse the process for your agents or your TCs or whoever we're talking about, the less it's going to get done and the less it's going to get done correctly. And so if you can minimize those logins, it's going to change your business. And I learned that the hard way many, many times. We're there now. So minimal programs, but if you do, and you have to have other programs because not everyone's going to be all in one, be great. That is a myth. That is a unicorn that doesn't exist. Make sure, like David said, they integrate well. Kajabi, we use that for training. It integrates well with everything. It has a great API. Follow Up Boss has a great API. ActiveCampaign has a great API. You'll notice a theme here of softwares that I use. They all have great APIs.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I kind of want to now do a second video with you just on integrations, but we're going to move on because I love that topic as well. But it is something I did want to pause you if you didn't mind there, because I do think that that's something that we don't want to just pass by as though that's a nothing conversation. That's a real conversation.
David, I'm going to offer something here. I might not get back to you in 2 seconds, but people are always welcome to reach out to me. I always tell people if I do webinars with them, not to reach out to them because I don't want them to get bombarded. But I love this shit. Oh, sorry. I love this stuff. You know, like I get all geeked out on it. And if you call me and say, how do I connect this with this? Oh, you made my day. So like, I'm not afraid to be on the phone and talk, you know, I love to talk this stuff. So.
So here's what we did. We started with ops and we talked about CRM or marketing tool and building sequences. And you mentioned SOPs and integrations and everything else like that. Keep going with that for me.
Agent. So let's talk about the, or you want to stay on ops?
Or? If you've got more that you want to dive in deeper on ops.
Yeah. So
agents, you tell me.
Yeah, I think that the ops manager is kind of that person that's going to be in multiple programs, and they're going to be, because they're that higher level person that's going to be able to handle those integrations. And they're going to I want that person to be my project manager, quarterback, if you will, the team. And they're going to know everything and how to direct. Now, they're not doing a lot of the down and gritty business of the day to day, but they're directing the right people and delegating well. They're delegating to the right people.
Yeah, and I think of them, I like quarterback, but I think of them as really, I'm almost thinking of them, I'm really, really deep into the human side of things. Everything needs to be humanized. So on this one, I'm going to go in the opposite direction and think of your organization as, not as a human side, just as if you were to draw it out on paper. That ops manager for me, they're the hub.
Yeah.
They are absolutely the hub. And they are the ones that if I'm going to hire an ops manager, one of the skill sets I'm looking for is someone who absolutely is crazy passionate, like the two of us, and geeky about what can this do, what can this do? Because they're the ones that are worried about the integrations of the tools for the agents, to the admin, to the transaction, to the team lead, to everybody. I want that person geek central, but they're my hub.
I would add that I've had issues in the past. I would make sure that person isn't a control freak if you want to scale your business. If you want to scale your business, perfection is going to be the enemy of progress in that. So that's a whole different webinar we can get into, but 80% is typically good enough.
Yeah. And here's the last thing I'll say on it, and I promise I'll get off of this. The reason why I said I want them as my hub is because of this, is too many organizations, when they get to a certain size, the person that tends to be the hub is the owner and the team lead. And I'll tell you right now, I have rarely ever seen that work. They are the bottleneck. They are the control freak. So what you just said is part of why I want them the hub, because if it remains with the team lead, and that team lead is the techie and the passion one on all of this, they tend to be more of an effective bottleneck than they are an effective hub. That's why I bring that up. So
yeah, I totally agree with you. And so just to kind of finish out the ops manager part.
Yes.
Videos. I'm a huge Loom fan.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what video program, anything that's free.
Yep.
I use Nimbus, I use Loom, there's a bunch of them. Anything that you do in your business, you should be recording you doing it, because you know you're doing it probably the best out of anyone.
Yep.
At first, at least. Hopefully only at first. And hopefully you're hiring smarter, better people at the job than you are. You want to be the dumbest person in the room. That's always my motto. I want to be the dumbest person on my team, because that means I hired really well. But yeah, you want to video these. Keep a video. They don't have to be perfect. This is the point that everyone gets hung up on. Well, I stumbled on my words. Oh, I made a mistake. Who cares?
Yep.
They're going to feel more human on the other side anyway.
Yep.
If you come to Open to Close, if you've been here for a while, you'll see my videos.
Yep.
I didn't do a great job, but guess what? I got the point across, and people always told me, like, I was really happy to see you make that mistake, because I've made that mistake 10 times and made me feel okay about myself.
100%.
So like, and these are internal. So these aren't even external. I took it to a whole new level where I was just like, hey, we got to get these out. But internally, it doesn't matter. So just 80% is good enough. If you stumble on your words, just say, hey, forget that. I'm moving on, blah, blah, blah. Get that video library built, because then you can hire assistants and they can start taking this and they can start perfecting that stuff that you don't have time to perfect.
The last thing I'd say on videos is going to be this, is 2 to 5 minutes.
Max. Yeah.
And I have to just, you said, build those videos out. I'm gonna finish that sentence for me anyways. Build those videos out in real time. And what I mean by that is, people have this vision of, I'm going to build out this amazing operations manual. I'm going to build out these videos, and it's overwhelming to them. And they think they got to record 200 videos. What I do is, if I'm going to train someone on something, let's say it takes, over a week or two, it's 45 minutes of total training time before they truly feel that they understand it. When I truly believe with all of my heart that they're right on that verge of having that aha and they really get it, that's when I record the 2 to 5 minute video, and I build the videos in real time. Hey, by the way, let's just do a screen share right now. And what I'm going to do is a 2 to 5 minute video for our operations manual. I'm going to walk through it, and please know this at the end, because I take too many things for granted because I can do this in my sleep. I'm going to ask you, hey, Rain, because I did do this with Rain, which is now on your team, used to be on my team. Hey, Rain, did I forget anything? And here's what she does. She'll go, you know what? I think that was pretty good, but you also mentioned that if I couldn't find it, I could find it here. Ah, I love that, Rain. Okay, so then I'll show that right on the screen. Rain, anything else that I missed? Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Click on. Take that link, and I put that right in the spreadsheet for our thing. Do those in real time. You do not have to spend your life and your stress building out all these videos. Do them while you're training, and actually invite the people you are training in to give you commentary the last 30 seconds to see if you've missed anything, because now they have personal ownership and pride in ownership of the actual training materials that you want them to use.
Right. And it's simple. I mean, honestly, people make it way too hard.
Yeah.
You could start a Word doc, and you could have a little link to the video. Like, hey, you're new and you're in this position. Here are the 5 videos you need to watch, and their links. And then maybe in a month from now, you think of something else for training, and you add another paragraph to that, and you just keep building. It's a living document, just like your softwares are living.
100%.
You're constantly updating them, and you never want to be stagnant, whether that's a half an hour a week, an hour a week, whatever you can afford to go and time block that time to making your systems better and well thought out, and your softwares and tools that you're using as well.
And I think you and I need to call each other out. We suck at staying on topic about automation or anything else like that.
We really do.
We are so passionate about it.
Really bad.
We do. So let's do this. Let's go to agents. What are some of the automations you'd start with?
Yeah, so let me just talk about, I'm going to talk about kind of specifics, but I'll leave it general. So in Follow Up Boss, at least, we have things called smart lists. You may have them called filters. You may have them called a bunch of different things. Basically, it's just a way to filter down your database into a smaller unit that you can actually deal with. And so some of the things that you can do in these CRMs now is say, if this person hasn't reached out, so last communication, more than 3 days, let's move them off to like a fishing pond, which we call like just a big, like conglomeration of people that we haven't been able to get a hold of. So day one, we're calling them 3 times a day. Day two, we're calling them twice a day. Day three, we're calling them twice a day. Next day, we call them maybe once. And then that starts to tail off, right? And so they start moving. I don't want my agents to have to remember to move them from smart list to smart list because it won't happen.
Yep.
So depending on what stage they're in,
Yep.
depending on what status they're in, depending on the tags that we put on them, depending on the notes, how many communications we've had, they're moving through these pipelines or lists automatically. And that way my agents, when they log in, they're not having to think, oh, I got to move this guy here, use their brain. It's already been set up. And that's the way we build open to close too. The very similar concepts of there's only a certain amount of decisions you can make in a day, right? We don't want to use those up on dumb stuff, minutia stuff that we can automate. So that's, they do have automations in my CRM, at least some, automations that you can use, but I think the smart lists are great because you can pop people into the right thing. And then when you log in, you can go to your A list, call through them, then go to your B, call through them. If you don't get to C, no harm done. Those people haven't even responded to us anyway. So it's about creating these nice systems in your CRMs as well.
Yeah. So that's part of what a tool can do for you. But let's point out two real quick things. Number one, you said, and you mentioned, I'm just going to use the word that you said, pipeline. Okay. Yeah. So we've got this pipeline that they're going through. That's what we were talking about earlier, drawing that out so you know what you're going to put in your tool. The second thing that you just said, and you kind of ended with, so this goes right back to where we started again, draw it out. The second thing is this, if we are hardcore honest, is I don't care if someone's with Keller Williams, not Keller Williams, Remax, whatever it is. We all know who Gary Keller is, and we all know about his red book. Okay. And in his red book, he says you are going to lead gen every single day at the exact same time. Now, let's use an example of that. It's Monday through Friday from, say, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. If we are honest with ourselves, the average agent starts at 9, and what do they do from 9 to 9:30? Who should I call? Should I call? No, you should be making your first call at 9. And that doesn't mean that you got there at 8:30 to figure that out. Your tool actually tells you when you show up at 9 to call, your system already divided it out and told you who in your database needs that call. You can make the first call within the first 60 seconds because your tool has determined who you're going to call, and that's all automated, but you drew that out. How do we categorize people? How do we categorize contacts? This pipeline that you're talking about. Okay.
Be real careful with tags. I would say, I just thought of this in my head. Like I started off with doing everything with tags. It gets really messy. I love the pipeline concept, the status, the, where, is it a buyer? Is it a buyer that's hot? Is it a seller that's warm? Have those stats. They don't all have to be the same. There's a lot of people out there with opinions on what they should be. You can pull off those people and create something that works for you. But having those automatically move them from stage to stage for you is going to save you a lot of time and effort in your business.
Beautiful. I love that one. Any other automations on the agent side that you're thinking of?
Automations on the agent side, I'm trying to think of what we do on a daily basis. I think calls, having a dialer, just being able to have the right tools so that you can, I'm not a fan of the 3-person dialer because I was never a big lead guy. I like the 1 at a time dialer, but having something that's going to expedite your time, because I'm always focused on how do I save time? Well, that's load the list in there and let them call the list for you as you go. You say start, stop, put my notes in, do this, do that, and then just let it run. And you can get through that like 10 times quicker than if you're dialing on your phone on every single one. Now, if you don't have the money, dial on your phone until you get the money.
Yep, 100%.
But when you have the luxury of having that, it does save a lot of time and effort.
And let's just talk about the mental aspect of this. There is a difference mentally, a hurdle for agents who are afraid to pick up the phone to just hit start versus dialing 9 digits.
Yep.
It's amazing the difference, or how many digits I just know, but you get it. Okay. Rather than doing this versus just start, stop. Okay. I know it's a little thing, but here's what we're trying to do is we are just being honest with ourselves that part of what we deal with is our mental health and our mental challenge of even doing the work that we're doing. Now, we may love the part about being in front of the customer and enjoying that part. What work needs to be done to get us to the part that we really love? Okay. And that's what Gary says in his book. He's talking about the fact is I'm never going to tell you that I loved lead gen. Okay. But I knew that I had to do that. And it's amazing if you start scheduling appointments out of that, that's called success. And it's amazing how success changes your opinion on what you're doing back here. All of a sudden that becomes fun. Guys. And that's kind of Gary's approach to that.
And success breeds success, right? You
100%.
get a high off it and you keep going. Now, I will admit, I'm not a big call the leads guy. Like, I hate that. And so as soon as I was able to put that on someone else, that's the first thing I got rid of, because
Yep.
I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And not that I wasn't good at it. I shouldn't say that. It was that I didn't enjoy it and it would suck my energy.
Yep.
So I made a list of all the things that give me energy, and I made a list of all the things that suck my energy. And
Now
one
we're
of the
talking
things,
about automations, and now we're talking about leverage. So
yeah.
leverage is another thing. Absolutely.
And so having that, I know that sucks it out of me. So the
Yep.
first time when I got money, it was, hey, let's hire someone that's better than me at leads and get them the training. This is the key part. Get them the training that
Yeah.
they need to be successful. Don't just put them on an island and say, you'll figure it out. Get them the train. Don't hire them if you don't have the money to train them, or do it personally, or hire someone better than you to train them. I would say that as a caveat there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So we talked about ops managers. We talked about agents. Who do you want to talk about next?
TCs is my favorite, right? So
all right, let's talk about TCs. Everybody who doesn't know both of us, we've talked about this more than a few times. So yeah, it's definitely a passion area for both of us. So,
and I'm going to keep it very general. I'm not going to go into open to
Yep.
close specifics. I'll try to keep it as general as possible, depending on what system you're using. Obviously, I have enough, I love it, open to close, because it is so automated and I helped build it. So I love it. But there's a million different ways to skin a cat here.
Yep.
So the first thing I would say is, like, just having, so leverage kind of plays into this too, because if you get leverage, someone that can take your intake forms eventually, someone that can take your closings and schedule all that stuff for you, schedule your inspections, order photos if you're doing listing to close, all those things, that's going to help you in the future.
Yep.
But for right now, if you don't have the money for that to bring on someone, one of the ways you can do it is through this automating tasks and getting rid of the minutia so that you have more time in your day. So the first thing that I did was my initial emails and this was back when I was on Salesforce. We jammed together 11 programs to make this work, and it was a disaster, but it kind of worked. The agent would submit their form.
Yep.
And as soon as they would submit their form, it would generate all the info, put it in the fields,
Yep.
start making these emails, make
Yep.
them sound right, because we don't know if there's septic, if there's well, if there's HOA. We would automatically put that into the email, and we would send this off to the escrow officer, the lender, the buyer, the seller. And the biggest complaint I get when I tell people this is, I don't want to sound like a robot. I don't want it to be impersonal. It's actually more personal, because you can put in more stuff that's relevant to the transaction if it's set up right. Now, that's a long way off, and we'll get there and show you how to get there, but that's not like step one. But just know that if you're thinking that, if you have that limited belief that you're going to sound robotic or impersonal, that's the furthest thing from the truth. My clients praise us all the time on our emails because we're so thorough. And let's just say that they've already submitted the earnest deposit. Well, my system knows that, and it's going to take that paragraph and rip it out of that email automatically. So I'm not asking them to go deposit earnest money when they've already done it. Then it makes me look like an idiot. So this automation can be used in many forms to, you're having a bad day, you're going through a bad time in life, you're whatever, you miss things. The system doesn't miss things. You can set these up so that the system is double checking you on everything that's going out.
Okay, so I'm going to expand a little bit on what you just said to put in perspective for a few people. Is what he said is, first thing I'm going to start with on the TC, and I'm not going to go too deep and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden this came out. Okay.
Yeah.
So when he said he's going to automate that first email, he actually mentioned a couple things in there that do also have the capability of being automated. So the fact is one is an online form. That online form then can populate a lot of information into your tool. Then that tool, based on its knowledge and the way that you've got it set up and the way that you've drawn your system out, it can tell whether, okay, do we have the earnest money? Do we have blah, 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 blah. Everything else he said, I'm not just going to repeat. And then from there, that creates, and I'm going to use this phrase, an appropriate email. Yeah. An appropriate means this: it's not robotic. It's appropriate because it took all those answers into consideration. So some tools, I'm not going to call it systems, but some tools will actually go ahead and they can send out emails, but they don't take all those things into considerations. And then there are some tools that will take all of that information and it will change how the email is actually written. Yeah. So please know that there's a couple little automations in there that one leads to another, that can lead to another, that can lead to another. And depending on the tool that you're working with, how that works, what it looks like, and everything else like that can change. But I want to at least point out that one automation that we bring up may bring up multiple others.
For sure. And I would say that I see people all the time. They're like, I'm going to use this tool because it's really cool. And so they have their TC fill out this online form.
Yeah.
And then they take that online form and they type in the information into somewhere else. And I'm like, you just wasted 10 minutes on the form when you could have
Yep.
just typed it in this.
Yep.
So make sure you're being smart about your integrations and automations too, and make sure that it's actually saving you time and it's just not some cool thing that everyone else is doing and you think you need to do it.
Yep.
So having that information actually populate so that you're not double typing, that's the way to go, not just using a form because everyone else is using a form. So I just want to throw that in there because I've seen that more than once. And I was like, oh no, we need to have a talk about systems and saving time first before we even get into any of the automation stuff. And which brings up a point that we talk about all the time.
Okay.
Slow down. You don't
100%.
need to be at level 10 right off the bat. It's day one. Like mind map it, start putting in some stuff, get very detailed about one I call modules. So that's how my mind works with my wife when we go through and automate our stuff. It's let's work on the opening emails module. Let's work on the escrow module. Let's work on the septic module. And we break it down piece by piece so that we can focus on it and make it better. But all the other stuff is at 80%. We can run a transaction. All we're doing now is making it better. We're taking a task and saying, what do I manually do? Okay. Here's a task, send opening emails. What do I manually do when I check off this task? Well, I go to my email, I grab a canned response, I edit it, and then I hit send. And then I go to the next one and I do the same thing. Well, when you get into automation, you want to go very slow and you want to take one email and you can just say, okay, I did that manually. Now, how do I do that with my tool?
Thank you.
Go in there and I say, okay, I'm going to have this on my list, but when I check this off, I want it to automatically know who that buyer is, populate the buyer, grab the documents from my doc section and attach them to the email, and then build the email and just let me review it. So now instead of 15 minutes of sending an email that's very complicated, now it's 3 seconds of checking it.
Now take everything that he just said, and while you're doing that, draw that out at least once.
Yes.
Draw that out at least once. Now, my opinion is the two things I would do. Go do that task another half dozen times and follow your drawing exactly, because I guarantee you'll find one or two things and go, oh, that's not right. Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, wait, that actually has two options. Okay. So I would do it a couple times. And then I said there were two things. Number one, do it another half dozen times following your exact drawing. Second thing, then go show it to someone that you know plays this game at just a little higher level than you do, and have them tear it apart. And I mean that with all the love in my heart. Okay. But there are a lot of people that will bring things to me and say, if you were to look at this, what do you like? What don't you like? What do you think I'm missing? Where do you think I've got, I've almost made this too complex?
Yeah.
That is an issue that sometimes people do as well. Okay. So
I wrote down a couple of things when you were talking there. Fake transactions are great. If your system lets you create a fake transaction, don't test it on a real world client, please. This happens all the time when people are like, well, it didn't work. And it's like, well, did you test it? No, I didn't test it. So test this stuff. It's very important that if you're going to get into automation, that you slow down and you take the time to test it before you're going to test it on a real world person.
And leaders, stop driving your team nuts and changing your tool and your systems every week.
Yes, please.
Okay. You run a few transactions, and if you want to implement something, yeah, exactly. Okay. You test it for a month on a couple transactions and see if you even like it. If you don't even like the way that you've changed things, what do you think your team is going to do? And if you're changing it every week, 2 weeks on them, the amount of teams that I hear that their frustration with their leader is, yeah, it's kind of something changes every week. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. So that was probably my biggest mistake when I first got in the business is shiny objects, right? I'm diagnosed ADD. I admit that I have a lot of focus issues, that I really have to be super focused on being focused. So shiny objects were my thing. When I first got in the business, oh, this is going to be the savior. This is the golden bullet. Bullet. This is the unicorn. If you think something's the golden bullet, nothing is the golden bullet. I can tell you, I've tried them all. Call me first before you try it, because I probably failed and my team's probably really pissed at me still from trying it. So give me a call first and I can expedite you through some of that stuff.
Awesome. Anything else on automation? Because I think you and I just we've kind of gone off on a bunch of different things. We could go deeper on every single one of them, and we'd be happy as a clam. We'd enjoy it. But what are we missing as more of like an introduction conversation here? I mean, we kind of talked about the ops, agents, TC. We can keep going roll after roll after roll, but I think people get the general idea, and we are giving ideas about starting slow and drawing it out and being okay. I mean, let's just be humble and be willing to share it with someone and say, I'll look at yours as well, or whatever it is. But the fact is, this community is crazy willing to help each other, like over the top willing to help each other. And if you ever think that this industry is all about competition, you're hanging out with the wrong people. Literally, you're hanging out with the wrong people. Andrew and I, we've never felt in competition with each other on anything. We call each other. That's just all there is to it. If you're not getting the help that you need to be around more different people, period. In this industry, there's good people.
I'll add to that. We have conversations all the time with competition softwares.
Yes.
And just talking through things, and seeing where they're at, and how we can facilitate each other a little bit. Like certain clients aren't our clients. There's certain clients that just don't care about automate. They're happy doing it by hand. It gives them some type of satisfaction, and those clients should go over to a different program.
Yeah.
And so we're more than willing to make those connections. So it's always good to know who your competitors are, and there's enough to go around. Let's face it, there's 11 million transactions a year. There's enough to go around for everybody. So
100%. What else are we missing in this conversation?
The only thing that I think that has been a real help for me, and you may not care about it as much as I do, but fields. So any tool that you use has to be custom fields for me. Okay. If you don't have custom fields, it's really hard, because let's just say you're working in North Carolina and you're doing due diligence period. Okay. And you want to expand and you want to go to Texas, and they have an option period. And then you want to expand to Arizona and they have an inspection period. Well, how do you marry those? You don't want to just say to your TCs, no, you got to just remember that option is inspection and due diligence and this and that. We're going to figure it out, and you're just going to have to remember everything. In my personal preference, custom fields are so important, because now you can really customize your system to the way you work, and you're not brute forcing, cramming stuff in where it shouldn't be crammed in. Like, you should have a system that works and should be able to grow with you. And so that's one of the points that I see a lot of people struggle with in the industry. They go out and they try to make Gmail work as their CRM, and it's like, it's just not going to work for you.
Yeah. And I love that you're like, gosh, I don't know if you're going to like this. So here's the thing is, I preach custom fields from multiple perspectives, not just in the TC realm, but I'm real big on custom fields in my CRMs. Yeah. What I'm always saying is, and preaching is, figure out a way to humanize the tool. Humanize the tool. So when I look at a CRM, if I'm going to call someone, my CRM, I've added the fields of, because it didn't come standard with my CRM, is that there was a Facebook and there was a business Facebook and a personal Facebook. If I'm going to call someone and pretend that I care and that I'm checking in on them, but I didn't actually check to see if they've had a family tragedy, and I didn't actually check to see if their son just graduated, I didn't just check. I want to actually, they put it on Facebook, and this is not creeping. They care enough about it to actually share it with people. And then I took no time to actually show that I cared and looked at what they wanted to share with us. And they wanted to share their tragedy with us and their celebration and everything. So I want the custom fields so that before I call someone, what are the things that they are sharing with us that I should actually show that I care enough that I'm willing to take time to take a look at what they have decided is important to them. So custom fields, I use custom fields in a lot of different areas, but I thought I'd bring it into one other tool other than just yours or just a transaction management to show custom fields is a topic in not just transaction management. It is a topic you should consider in almost every tool that you take a look at. I believe in custom fields.
You're going to sound a lot nicer than me, because you took it to a very nice level and caring about people. And now I'm going to take it back to a very robotic level. But the custom fields, for us is really about moving them through those pipelines and moving them to different places without you having to do the work. Why are you still doing all this work, manual work, when we have so much technology out there to automate this stuff? And I get it. It takes a lot to set up. You can hire professionals. The one thing I would say about that, though, hiring professionals, is don't outsource your system, please. Like, think about the way you want to do it. Like, yes, can you get opinions? Can you grab David's spreadsheet? Can you do all this? Heck, yes. But make it your own. Don't rely on, we see it all the time with open to close. It takes time to set up. So they just go and hire someone and they put in a system. And I'm a proponent of that because they do really well, our third-party people putting in these systems. But you have to make it your own after that. You can't just run with something that someone else did, or it's never going to be your business. So just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine that people aren't treating this like a living document or a living software and improving, taking the time blocks to improve on your life and your softwares in your system.
100%. Two things that you just mentioned, complete agreement, custom fields. Yes, they're important, but notice the direction that he and I went. Okay. The fact that they're important for multiple reasons.
Really?
Okay. They really are important for multiple reasons. Second thing is Andrew and I know a lot of the same people. That's just all there is to it. So we know a lot of the people that you're probably going to call, that are probably going to help you set up your tools and everything else like that. And we have personal relationships with all of them, and we all know the same people, but it's a big world, but it's a pretty small world. Okay. But here's the thing is what I will, because I have relationships with those people, if I could yell and scream at them about one thing, that is this: if someone comes to you and they want you to just set up a system, I want you to push back. I want your customer to tell you what their system is. And if they can't come up with a system, rather than just giving them one that, quite frankly, they don't know the ins and outs in, it doesn't align with their beliefs, it doesn't align with their standards, they don't even know what standards are in certain areas and stuff like that, then I would suggest that you actually, if you're not the person to coach them on how to actually think through and draw out a system, I'm going to say, all of you people that are helping build these systems out, if you're not qualified to help someone design and build an actual system, I would not start working with them. Either build that skill set to start drawing a few of those out and go through it with them, or refer them off to someone that is where their skill set is. Because if you want to serve them at the highest level, they cannot just have a functioning tool. They have to have a well thought out and drawn out system. The system will always come before the tool, period.
For sure. And our third-party vendors do a pretty good job of supporting them with videos and how they thought about it so that they can put their personal touches on it and all that kind of stuff. So I think our vendors do a really good job. One of the things that we're introducing is a pre-made account, just to give you a head start, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to go through and create all this and this and this. So we're just going to do a pre-built account that gets you to level 1. You have to take it. You have to take some responsibility. It's like TC. When you ask your agents, when you have that initial meeting with them, I'm going to do the majority of everything, but you have to commit to me to do the things that are necessary for you to do, for me to do my job well. It's the same thing in setting up a system. You have to take some responsibility for your own system.
100%. And if you're going to build those templates, I want to see it include a drawing of what that system is that you're building the template for. That would be fun for me. I would just geek out with you.
It'll change the way that you think about it. If everyone on this call listens and they actually do mind maps of things, it's going to change the way you think about things.
100%.
That's a living document too, because now if your state changes something in the contract, you can go and say, pull this out, add this, do this. We won't go too far down that road, but that living document is so important to your business.
Okay. We're going to end this call, but here's the deal is I'm hanging out with someone that I adore, and someone that we could literally do a call every single week, and we would never run out of things to talk about. Whether we'd stay on track on any particular topic would be another thing. But all we really cared about when we started this conversation off camera is we said, as long as we can bring something of real value. And I think different people pull different things out of it. Someone is like, okay, I've heard people tell me to draw it out 5,000 times. And for some reason, today was my light bulb moment. I don't care what it was for you, but I hope that this brings some real value to you today. And Andrew, I appreciate you. I appreciate our relationship. And I appreciate for what you do in this community, because it means a lot to not just me, but to a lot of people. You've had an impact on a lot of people. And I don't know how often you hear that, but
I appreciate that. And, obviously, how important you are in my journey in this business. So I would say to people as a last note, I know I touched on it before, this business shouldn't take all your family time and your personal time away from you. You should be able to go on a vacation without your computer or your phone strapped with a rubber band around your head. Call me. I'm happy to. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm by a military base and the jets are flying over right as I'm giving the final monologue here. But they call me. I'm always here for help to try to get you better systems, even if it's not with us. I just want to. I really do care about the profession and care about getting better things in place, better systems in place for people so that they can actually have a life and spend time with their family, because that's really what it's all about.
All right. God bless, my friend. Everybody having an awesome day. As a reminder is what we are doing with these videos. They will be up on YouTube. If you haven't already, go down into the description. And what we're going to do is you will see a link to a blog. And what we are doing is we outline every single one of these conversations and give you full notes on them. So that'll take you to the blog that has all the full notes. And if you're on the blog, go up to the top of the blog and there's a link to the video. One way or another, you'll get what you need. Okay, guys? Have an awesome day. Take care.